Warning, the following video is rated M for if you're young, you shouldn't watch this, so viewer discretion is advised. But hey, I won't tell if you won't. So Dark Souls 3 came out in 2016 and everyone was like, the game had high expectations and was highly anticipated by fans because people wanted new bragging material to obsess over and, oh my god, it's only been a few weeks, guys, jeez! Being the supposedly closing chapter of the Dark Souls series, you know, those games that are known for being really hard and determine your entire quote-unquote gamer skills and separate the boys from, well, the boys. It's a game, guys, calm down. But everyone was eager to see what last crushingly difficult and patient testing tricks good old Miyazaki had up his sleeves. And being a game kinda developed alongside of From Software's Bloodborne, the game cranked up the challenge in new areas, focusing on speed and aggression and introducing new mechanics, and it gave a familiar but brand new way of playing Dark Souls. And then not so new. But anyway, if you're new to this game for some reason, here are a few basic tips, tricks, and heads up for people who don't know about this game. So you play as the nameless, accursed, unkindled champion Ashen One, or Bob, if you're boring. Some poor schmuck who has been awakened and pops out of the ground since the Age of Fire is once again starting to dim, and you find yourself in the land of Lothric, a big old spooky place that has very much seen better days, and it's all up to you to find and kill the Lords of Cinder because they bitter as crap about this whole fire linking nonsense, and you're the only one dumb enough to kick their pants back in action and somehow manage to save the world. Well, save probably isn't the best word to describe it. Not get worse? Yeah, that works. Honestly, it just kinda depends on what ending you get. I mean, let's face it though, this world is ugly and sad as hell, so it doesn't really matter. But along the way, you'll meet 50 Shades of Grey, reject Bloodborne enemies, people on fire, you died screens, another gosh diddly dang poison level, exploitable AI tracking, a crap ton of enemy ambushes, soup, another gosh dang skeleton level, Miyazaki, I swear to God, Dark Souls 1 nostalgia, and patches. Now, the first rule of Dark Souls is that the story is never shoved in your face. Although Dark Souls 3 is probably the most forward the lore has ever been, but then again, not necessary to know. It's dark, it's spooky, everyone's lives are kind of terrible, yeah. Interesting, but on the sidelines. But you really can coast through just fine, even though you'll be major confused as to why Chungus over here wants to barbecue you. But then again, I don't like to ask that many questions. I'm sure he has personal problems that I'm not aware of. But if you're a crazed Dark Souls fan, the story does tug at your heartstrings and punches you in the face with nostalgia, so smile wide and take it like a man, bucko. But the story is there, and it's the kind of thing that sparks a massive amount of lore videos, so if you're too thick to understand it, you should be just dandy. Okay, moving on. Now, Dark Souls 3 is a lot more straightforward when it comes to where to go and what to do compared to past games. While you have free roam technically, the game is pretty linear up until a few areas, where it's like, hey, what's over here? And suddenly you're in a whole new area and you can trot along and mind your own business, la-di-da-di-da. Oh my god! Layout aside, the goal is to find and kill the 4 Lords of Cinder, who are, for the most part, pretty easy to get to. And you know it's them when suddenly you start dying a lot. You know, I'm not so sure this is worth it. Now, the world is full of nooks and crannies and little doodads, but be thorough. Taking your time and checking crap out can get you mega OP real fast, and finding shortcuts around the world is crucial if you don't want to constantly be running from point A to B to... is my Cooking Mama copy. Shortcuts are everywhere though, like levers, elevators, ladders, and yeah. But since Dark Souls 3 is more linear, just know you do need certain items and or need to do certain things before moving on. Like putting out big tower lights for some reason, beating some bosses before moving forward, you know, the basic stuff. And just baby heads up, there are 2 paths that lead to 2 separate areas, here and here, just so you know. As you explore though, you'll be on the lookout for bonfires, aka checkpoints that can teleport you to unlock bonfires and send you to the Firelink Shrine, which is your main hub where everyone just stands around looking miserable. Oh, cheer up, you bunch of babies, it ain't that bad. But at the shrine, you'll be able to talk to NPCs, upgrade your weapons, and get up and close and personal with the Firekeeper, who will level you up in exchange for souls. And yeah, call me Ashen One, baby, I've been a dirty, dusty boy. All that stuff aside though, it's a Dark Souls game. Dying means something because you lose all your souls, the game's currency, and you are sent back to the last place you rested at, all the enemies come back to life, and you have one chance to get your souls back when you die, or else you lose them forever. And stop me if this is sounding a baby bit familiar. If you played Dark Souls before, it's literally the same thing. Everything just looks a lot more depressing than usual. Just always be cautious, pay attention to the environment, and don't be afraid to run through and away from crap.
Run.
Oh god, oh god, 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 oh god! So exploring the world is all the same, but Dark Souls prides itself on having a wide variety of customization and gameplay styles, so you can be the prettiest and best girl in Lothric. When starting out, you can pick a class that just determines your starting stats and items, and then you can put points wherever the heck you want. But, and this is a big but, if you're a beginner or just want to have the quote-unquote easy class and get made fun of for not being hardcore enough, go with the Knight. Like really. The game caters to the Knight build like crazy, and most, if not all, enemies and bosses can be taken out with a big sword to the face. If you want to go mage or cleric, and yeah, you can put points into those stats and you'll be able to do the thing. But you do that and I'll just be over here swinging my big massive sword around having fun. Class aside, the gameplay is based off of stats with weapons and abilities, so if you want to try something out, make sure your stats can handle it there, big boy. Now, regardless of what you go with, and I'm sure everyone can agree with me on this, you have to stay on your toes and roll like crazy and make sure you get used to it.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
God damn! The enemies are mega fast in Dark Souls 3, so no fat rolling, tubby, or else you gonna die. Rolling in and around enemies typically gets the job done, even though your first instinct isn't to throw yourself at the sharp things, but it's effective to say the least. And speaking of hitting hard, sword arts are the new jazz that can really help you out in a tough situation. Depending on the weapon you have, if you hit the right attack buttons, you can do massive attacks and smear your foes across the wall. It does use up some of the blue stuff, but lordy is it cool. On top of that, most of the big beefy boys, if they are kind of your size, can be taken out the quickest with either backstabs or parries, which is just basically swinging your shield in mid-attack and stabbing them in the face, or just getting behind the dude and stabbing them in the not face. Try to get good at it fast, because you'll need it, and it's probably the most effective way to take out some of these dudes. Now, Dark Souls 3 cranked it up to about 11 with the weapons, and there are a ton, and I mean a ton of weapons to choose from. Be real, it's kind of overwhelming, but try them out and see what move style is for you. Keep in mind, different weapons have different sword art, so try them all out and see which one impresses your girl the most. Now, in Firelink Shrine, you can talk to beefed up Santa, and he will level up your weapons in exchange for items and souls that are everywhere in Lothric. Enemies drop items like crazy, so if you need stuff, go on a killing spree. Now, if you're low-key dating your weapon, you're gonna have to level it up, but be sure to level up weapons that attack differently in case you need to change up your playstyle or something.
Oh my god, this is so much better.
And speaking of items, there are a few things, while not necessary, that'll make your time in Lothric a lot less frickin' terrible. The item description can help you out a lot if you're stuck, but there are Estus shards, undead bone shards, and then people's ashes if this world wasn't already chipper enough. But the Estus shards increase the use of your health flask, which you kinda need, and then buffed up Grandpa can take care of that for you. The bone shard can be burned at the Firelink Shrine, and it makes your Estus more powerful, and you also kind of need this. And then the ashes can be given to Smelly Grandma for more stuff, because who doesn't love stuff? Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. These special extra super duper items that are really important though are embers. Now embers can be found around the world and even bought in a few areas, but use them wisely. They are used to increase your health like crazy, but if you die, you can kiss that sweet, sweet health bar goodbye. I didn't even know her name. On top of that, they allow you to summon in other players for jolly cooperation if you can find their summoning signs on the ground. Summoning in Randizia buds or NPCs can make all the difference when it comes to bosses, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. While you do have the extra dude power, it does make bosses noticeably stronger, and then if your summons get killed, you're left with a really pissed, very much alive, really overpowered boss. In some cases, going alone can make things easier, so try to see what all you're going up against before you resort to summons. Multiplayer works both ways though, and you can be invaded randomly by players, and they will not rest until you have a halberd shoved up your butt, so beware. Remember guys, it's not about the destination, but about the people who murdered you along the way. But if you're down for a good old-fashioned duel, red signs means you're ready to get all medieval style and fight to the death. Now, the world is also full of groups you can join for special perks, and they can range from stuff and stabbing stuff and purple stuff. And listen, covenants all have different ways of getting in and different perks, so if you want to know more about those, links below, so you too can join a really messed up family.
Also, what the f is she holding?
As you're dinking around Lothric, though, you might come across people just chilling. Now, pro tip, don't hit people who are just minding their own dang business, you monster. But NPCs are either merchants who you can talk to and send them back to the Firelink Shrine, or NPCs who, depending on if you do the right things, will continue to show up in the game. Now, NPC merchants or not have quest lines, some more obvious than others. To say the least, they are tricky. Like really, really tricky. I'm pretty sure I failed all of them my first blind playthrough, but they aren't necessary. It's just something that's kinda there. But if you're a crazy I gotta save my boo person, to ensure that you don't mess up, you might want to look up how the quest lines go, links below. Also, Dark Souls 3 doesn't have a plethora of extra bosses, but they are there, and they are worth going up against for the items, endings, and screaming about it on the internet about how it only took you like 2 tries. I get it, you're really good at Dark Souls! Keep in mind, you only need to kill 4 Lords of Cinder to unlock the final boss, and besides bosses that are blocking the level progression, everything else can be considered optional. But to make sure, check out those links below if you want to do the bare minimum and say you got scale anyway, because holy crap, some of these extra bosses are annoying. Okay, so here are a bunch of tips and things you should know before you get started. Use the dragon pose you get after the Consumed King here to get to the super secret area. Don't put the thingy in the thingy when you get teleported back to the Lothric Hall. It literally initiates a second boss fight after one of the boss fights. Go spend your souls first and then come back later. Hit every chest before you open it, and get ready, sonny boy. Give the Firekeeper eyes for the extra endings. Get rid of leeches by using the torch. Fire bombs are bae and great for the first area, and also if you want to be a coward. Praise the soup! Most enemies drop their armor set. Crank up that luck or use these to make the drop rate in your favor. The bridge acts as a ladder when you cut it, just FYI. When fighting Yorm, run past him and get the Sword Storm right next to his throne. The Sword Art kills him in like 5 hits, easy. Bait enemies and take them on one at a time so you don't get overwhelmed. The claw thingy is used to summon in more peeps, but use it with caution. Hidden walls are everywhere, so be sure to swing at everything like a madman. You can exchange your Estus flask for more blue Estus at the blacksmith if you use a lot of magic. Get or buy as many keys as you can, very handy. Rings can make all the difference, so switch them out depending on what's going on. You can exchange boss souls for weapons at the Small Fry King on his throne. Drop down stab attacks are your friend. Be sure to study boss attack patterns. Remember guys, slow and steady always wins the race. Purple players are wild cards. Be careful. I got my eye on you, bucko. Broadsword is good. I mean, I can't complain. It's a good sword. I recommend it. If you feel like you messed up your build really bad, there is a way to recollect your points, links below. There is new game pluses, so be sure to explore and find everything before starting a new journey. Dropping certain items in this nest on top of Firelink Shrine will give you better items. Oh my god! So while Dark Souls 3 doesn't do a heck of a whole lot to shake up the design formula and arguably did some funky stuff like getting rid of poise and making things more linear, the series concluded in a great way. And did anyone else get kind of teary-eyed during the final boss? No, just me? Okay. And even though Dark Souls can be difficult to get into sometimes, the constant challenge, deep combat customization, and immersive atmosphere helps Dark Souls 3 prove that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because boy do people love getting killed. I deserve that, and I hope this Basics Beginner's Guide makes your gaming experience a little better. So please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Hey, how's it going? Did you like this video? Well, if you did, why don't you go watch another one, you nerd? Also, why don't you go follow me on Twitter so you can keep up to date on what's gonna happen next? Wanna watch me get the footage I need for these videos? Head on over to my Twitch so you can see me play games and talk to chat where no one is safe. And this episode's Patreon shoutout goes to David Marin. Thank you so much for your support, and don't forget that you're a massive nerd. If you want to support me directly and be a major part of making these videos, go pledge to my Patreon and waste your money on YouTube trash. If you have any tips for this game or any future games, please leave me a comment, tweet me, or send me a message. Later, you big nerds!